everyone, and welcome back to the pond. My name is Frank, aka Bullfrog TCG, and yeah, Kyle is back again for the last video, or the second to last video, I guess, in the set review for Unleashed. Today we're tackling Order, but let's first check in. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. I'm ready to dive into Order and all the new cards that I haven't seen yet.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, let's just crack on with Bandle Soldier, 4 energy and 1 power for a 5-might unit that has level 3. I enter ready. This is one of those cards, like, if you don't have level 3, it is still like 5 for 4, which is not terrible. The power cost is kind of rough. If you're at the level 3, it's kind of like you get the accelerate tacked down there, which is nice. So I think it has some use cases, but I think the fact that it costs a power as well, and also in yellow, which is not necessarily the biggest kind of XP generating color in the game, at least not now. So I'm not really sure which deck this fits in, but I can see this having its places.
I feel very similarly. It's having ready is nice and accelerate is nice, but you definitely need this in a deck that can generate XP. The decks that do this with yellow are like, I feel like there's just better things to play in that slot. However, I could see this being used in limited, where you're able to have those 3 colors, so you're able to use the XP generators from colors that do it a little bit better, and maybe use this as like something to capitalize. In constructed, I'd probably give this 4 or 5. I'll give it a 5 to be generous. But in limited, I can see this maybe being slightly higher, like a 5.5 or 6. I'm not sure if we do halves here.
Well, why not? I agree. I will rate it like 4 in constructed, and then maybe like a 6 in limited.
I'll go 4 and 5. 4 and 5 sounds
4 and 5. Okay,
maybe
okay. Yeah, I'm gonna go 4 and 6 because it is only level 3. So if you get like an XP package and you get this, then it is just an extra accelerated unit, which is never a bad thing. So. Okay, let's move on to Black Rose Dignitary, 3 energy for a 2-might unit that has Assault and Death Knell, channel 1 rune exhausted.
I kind of like this card. It definitely lets you attack for more than you would normally have for this kind of Death Knell effect. I think the only other card that really does something similar is the 1-might bird. And this one on attack is, 3 is a nice breakpoint at that stage early in the game. Lets you get over it, and the most of the turn 1 plays, and if it dies or trades, it's fine because you're getting a benefit out of it. But other than that, I don't really see it being played too often. I imagine this would probably be played in LeBlanc, where you can double up on the Death Knell effect and the Conquer effect.
I agree. I think it's in the same kind of niche as the Soaring Scout, and I think most of the time we're just going to run the Soaring Scout, because if you draw this on turn 1 and you're going first, then you can't even play it. This is a lot better if you're going second, because then you can, as you said, you can most likely just swing over whatever your opponent played on turn 1. But if you kind of go this instead of the Soaring Scout and you happen to draw this on your first turn, then it's like, okay, well, I just have to pass then. So I think if this is the ability you want, or like if you want to channel 1 rune, I think you just go Soaring Scout. But if you need like the 4th or 5th copy, then this is, a pretty good option.
Yeah, I would probably give this a 6. Definitely above average. Definitely playable. I know some people like this card. I'm just not as high.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 6 as well. All right, and then we have the Carrion Dredger, 2 energy for a 1-might unit that is also a mech, noticeably, and he has Death Knell. Play a 1-might bird unit token with deflect to your base. I actually really like this card. I've kind of been waiting for like the turn 1 play that just makes a unit when it dies. It just allows you. It's kind of like a turn 1 play that can conquer 2 times, which is really good because it makes it really difficult for your opponent to clear your whole board. And also when you think of cards like Color Week, for example, you can kind of sacrifice this and then still have the same amount of units on the board. So yeah, I think I really like this card.
Yeah, I like this card too. This is like your standard, like you said, turn 1, play something that when it dies, it replaces itself. The problem is it does only have 1, so in the way combat works in this game is that it's probably just going to be walked over, which is fine, but you're probably going to want to have like something to do with the 1 drop that it leaves behind after the turn after. So I don't know necessarily if it's better than the just like replacing it with a card or a rune, but I think it's like it has the potential to be pretty useful because tempo is pretty important in this game currently. Yeah, I like this card. I'd probably give this like a 6.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 7 for this one. I think it is. It's probably not like seeing that much play now, but I think it is one that is definitely gonna see play at some point, and I just really like having this effect.
I agree.
Yeah. Carrying on to Crimson Pigeons, 3 energy and 3 might for a bird that has I have +2 might while I'm attacking with another unit.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a cool card. It's on rate 3 for 3, and with only upside. And it being, if you're attacking with any other thing, being a 5 might is pretty good. The problem is that you have to attack with something else. Usually in those situations, you're either already killing something or you are like just trading off this or that something else. So the situations where you might use this feel a little bit more restricted, like being able to use like bird tokens or something, or just some throwaway like 1 might token with this to trigger it. So you're attacking for 6 total, and you just say maybe it's Victor, and you just paid 1 energy to make that token. Attacking for 6 with that might be good, but it's just really a timing thing. It's like, when do you really want to be attacking with this, where the +2 is most impactful? And I'm not really sure where that is right now. There might be something in this meta that makes that relevant, but there's nothing on the top of my head. But I do think this has like some potential because it is just on rate unit with upside.
Yeah, I think this definitely is one of those that is gonna have its place in some kind of deck, like maybe like a really low to the ground like Zoo deck, and also in Think of Ivern, because you also have the card from previous set, the Trusty Ramhound, that I think gets +1 while it's attacking with something else, or when it's just at a battlefield with something else. So they kind of combo together, and they also both support Ivern, which cares about dogs and birds and other stuff. So I think that is definitely something we could see, like maybe like a big like confront turn. You play confront and then you just play all these cheap units that like get big together, and you can get a lot of might for very little investment that way. Yeah, but of course the backside is only on attack, so it's essentially like Assault 2, which means it's a lot easier to get rid of on the backswing. But like going for an alpha strike or just going for a strike with like few and cheap units, this could be a pretty good option. So yeah, I think I'm gonna give this a 6.
Yeah, I'll probably give it around the same as well.
All right, and then we have Heroic Charge, a spell that has 3 might. It has action, and it says give a friendly unit +1 might this turn and stun an enemy unit at its location. Yeah, I mean, more stun cards. It's an action. It costs 3, but it doesn't cost a power cost. So it's kind of like, if you're playing yellow and green, like you still have Thwonk, you have the Rune Prison, which costs a power. Thwonk doesn't cost a power, but of course that is only on like attacking units. So I don't know. It is another option to have. The +1 might is nice, I guess. I can't really think of which card that is meant to kind of synergize the most with, because it is not like +1 might is not much for 3 energy. Of course the stun is the big thing, so the +1 might seems like it's like meant for something, but I can't really think what that is. It is an option for stun if you want to have one that is more universally applicable and also doesn't cost a power. So I don't think it's bad, but I'm not necessarily sure where you want to play this like ideally. So yeah,
I feel the same. In a green yellow deck, specifically a Leona, where you might think you want to run this, I feel like they're just better stun cards. This is not a bad card, it's just kind of expensive for what it's doing, and I feel like in yellow is the color of like just killing things, so you might just want to kill the thing instead rather than just stunning it. You could probably do that for cheaper anyway. Yeah, so I don't really know. It's not a bad card, but I also don't think that this is a particularly great card in the meta. I think in limited play though, it'll be pretty good.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna give this a 7 for limited and then just a 5 for constructed.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say too.
All right, we're in sync today. All right, we're looking at Loyal Poro. Very funny card. 3 energy, 3 might. Death Knell. If I didn't die alone, draw 1.
I like this card. Kind of, it's a on rate unit that gets any benefits Poros get. So, if you happen to be playing any of the Poros energy cards or playing Airborne, that's nice to have. And then, yeah, it just can stack a battlefield and then just let it die and draw a card. And also, if you're playing LeBlanc, you can copy it, and now you have 2 of them, and then they each draw 2 cards, so they die together.
Yeah, I mean, I like this one as well, and I love the flavor text. Head full of bravery and not much else. So, I mean, for that reason alone, I think I'm just gonna give this a 10. But yeah, and I think it's like the problem, of course, with Lonely Porro is like if it's in the base with one other unit, or if it's at a battlefield with one other unit, it's not gonna draw anything. So I think this, of course, this costs 1 energy more, so you can't play it on turn 1 unless you go on second. So that is definitely something to keep in mind. But I think just this drawing cards a lot more frequently than the other one makes this a, like as you said, it synergizes really nicely with LeBlanc, for example, where you can just kind of get 2 draws off 1 attack or 1 conquer, I guess. So yeah, I really like it as well.
Yeah, I'm probably going to give this card an 8.
Yeah, 8 sounds good. 8 for a head full of bravery and not much else. Alright, and then we have the Scrutinizing Sergeant, 6 energy and 6 might for a unit that says, when you play me, gain 1 XP for each friendly unit. This is a very interesting card. It's like potentially like a huge XP swing, but it requires a lot of setup, and it also requires you to play a lot of things before you play this guy out and also have them survive. Of course, you could combo this with stuff like the Vanguard Armory, but then you're kind of playing this off curve. So like on curve, I'm not sure you want to play this because you kind of want to max the ability off. So unless you have like, you've managed to make a lot of like tokens and stuff, then you can probably play this on curve. But if not, then I'm sure you're probably going to want to play this like a bit later in the game. And at that point, you'd probably rather play something else that has a bit more of an impactful ability at that point. And also, I'm not sure like which decks really require to get this like huge burst of XP right away, rather than just like incrementally getting it throughout the game. So I don't know. I'm not really sure how I feel about this, but I don't think it's amazing. It has a unique ability in the way it gains XP. So I guess if you just want to get a bunch of XP and then just spend it all right away, then you know this is the way to do it, I guess. But yeah, it requires a lot of setup to get the maximum value out of it.
Yeah, this looks like a limited card to me. Other than that, I don't really see this being much constructed play. Like you said, it's at that point in the game you want to just like play something that's going to have 6 unit that's going to clear speed and maybe give you something. But in those colors, it's like, really, what is it really giving you? I'm going to give this a 4 in constructed and a 5 in limited.
Yeah, 4 constructed, 5 limited. Yeah, that sounds okay. Having big units in limited is never a bad thing. And then we have the Shepherd's Heirloom, 2 energy for a gear that's also an equipment. When you play this, gain 1 XP, and then equip, you spend 1 XP, and it gives +2 might.
I think this is actually surprisingly good. And just being able to equip for free and not have to pay a power is like actually a pretty huge thing. And because it gives +2, you're able to like just essentially immediately play it, use it, and not derep yourself. I can see this being used in Azir, right, where you are able to just play this turn 1. Yeah, I think this is a good card. I think just being able to equip something for free is actually way better than it seems.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is. I mean, it is really nice that you can equip it without paying a power cost. It requires you to build your deck a certain way, because if you don't have any XP, then you can't equip this at all. So it's not like an alternative cost, it is the cost to equip it. So unless you, of course, Azir kind of gets around that with a Weapon Master, and you can't get around that like, or no, he doesn't actually, because you still have to pay the XP. Weapon Master just reduces power cost. So it actually doesn't work in Azir unless you have the XP. So, but I mean, of course, it gets an XP when you play it out. So it's probably not going to be as like versatile in terms of like, because something you can do with like the other equipments is you can kind of equip to one thing, attack, trade into something, and then re-equip to something else, attack, and kind of do that again and again and again, as long as you have power for it. This, unless you have like the XP, of course, you're not going to be able to do that. So if you have enough XP gain, then yeah, this card is amazing. If you don't have that, or like if you don't find that part of your deck, then this doesn't do anything. But I do think it's a really good card if you can get that XP kind of train going. So I think I'm gonna give this. I think I'm gonna give this like a high. If you can get the XP, high 7. If not, then just a 6.
Yeah, I would probably give this a 7.
All right. And then we have the Soul Harvest, 2 energy and 1 power for a spell that says kill a unit at a battlefield with 3 might or less. I mean, this card is like, it really depends on the color you're pairing this with, I feel like. It does hit certain like key units. LeBlanc, for example, you can kill that. You can kill Karthus if they want to attack with that, which they usually are not going to want to. The big problem with this one is that it's slow speed. So you can't use it on your opponent's turn. And like hitting 3 might or less is like, okay, 3 might, you have in blue, you have Wages of Pain, which costs 1 more, doesn't cost a power, and then it creates a gold. In purple, you have Gust, which costs 1 energy and is reaction speed. And in red, you have Hextech Ray, which costs 1 energy and a power and just kills it. So I think you have, for dealing with 3 might units and not having like more applications in form of like Hextech Ray that just deals damage that you can kind of stack onto something else, I think there are a lot better options than this for just dealing with 3 might units. So I don't really like this one.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this card. It's pretty overcosted for what it's doing. You could probably use your secondary color to deal with the 3 might or less unit in a more efficient way. And the only way I could see this being useful is if there is a very particular 3 might unit that just needs to die in the meta on site. And even then, like I said, you probably have your secondary color to deal with it. So I'm probably going to give this like a 4.
Yeah, and annoyingly, like, yeah, killing a 3 might unit like Lucian would be nice, but Lucian never stays at battlefields, so it doesn't even work there. So, yeah, I'm just gonna, I think I'm just gonna give this a 2 for constructed. I don't really see where you would ever want to play this right now, at least. So, okay, but we are looking at Ultra Soft Poro, little gentleman here, 5 energy and 5 might for a unit that has exhaust and play 2 1 might bird unit tokens with deflect, but use this ability only while I'm at a battlefield.
I love this card. I love the art. He's a Poro. If you can stick him on a battlefield and like use his ability a few times, he's like pretty impactful. I don't know how great he is in a general sense, but in decks that can make use of him like LeBlanc or Ivern, I feel like he definitely goes up a bit there.
Yeah. I mean, the ability is really nice. I think the problem with this one is the same problem that's with like Caitlyn. That you have to play him out, and then you have to attack, and then you have to hold, and then you can use the ability. Unless you like attack and then make a token with LeBlanc. So in that sense, I guess, and it becomes a slightly better. But yeah, I think it is just, it's so hard to set up. And when you do that, the payoff of getting 2 1 might bird tokens is like, unless your deck is really good at like making use of those 2 tokens, then it's such a small payoff for a lot of setup. So I think it's okay. I think it's a really cool card, and the art is amazing. And the flavor text again is how magic and conditioner is amazing. But yeah, I don't really think the card is amazing. So
yeah, I'm probably gonna give this a 6.
Yeah, I'm probably just gonna give this a 5. I'm not really a big fan on this one, unfortunately. But okay, but we have the Divining Shells. So 2 energy for a gear that has vision. So when you play it out, you may look at the top card of your main deck and then you may recycle it. And then it has action, kill this, exhaust, and give a unit plus 2 might this turn. This is a very interesting card. I mean, it is like a plus 2 might action, so it's kind of like a pump spell that you pre-develop. So in that sense, it becomes slightly worse than a pump spell because your opponent knows that it's there, so they know you can activate at action speed whenever. Like, it is nice to get the vision, and like we have some synergies with cards like Pit Crew, for example, that like synergizes with gears just getting played out. But I think for what it does, I don't really think this is amazing, because it is like a pump spell, but the good pump spells that give plus 2 are usually reaction speed, and this is action speed, and you also play it out so your opponent knows that it's there before you use it. So I don't really think this is such a good card.
Yeah, I agree. This doesn't seem very good to me. This feels like a card that maybe has some use in the future. It's very unique in that sense, but I just don't think the cards printed right now can make use of this in a very good way. So I'm probably just going to give this like a 3.
Yep. Yeah, I'm going to give it a 3 as well. And then we have the Enthralling Protector, 2 energy and 2 might for a very beefy Fae that has Hunt, and you can spend 2 XP to buff me.
This is quite quite an art, I'll say. For the art alone, it should be a 10, but the card itself, I feel like, is not particularly great. It's not terrible. Having Hunt on a turn 1 play is nice, and being able to buff it with spending 2 XP, but I just feel like there's always like better 2-drops to be running that give you they're a bit more impactful early, because that's what you want your 2-drops to do, right? You want your 2-drops to be impactful early and then also not be a terrible top deck later. And This one feels like it's kind of neither. It's like okay early, and then it sucks if you top deck it. But it's definitely playable. So to me, this is only okay.
Yeah, I mean, it is nice to have another turn 1 play that has Hunt, so you can have some synergy, like some ways of getting XP in yellow. Spending 2 XP to buff him is very expensive. When you think of like Karthus, they can, no, Karthus, Kha'Zix, they can do that for 1 energy, no, 1 XP. So like if this is your way of spending XP, then you're probably better off doing something else. And also like depending on which color you're pairing this with. If you're pairing this with body, then you have a lot better 2-drops there. If you're pairing with purple, you have the Mr. Rook, which is also, no, Mr. Root, which is also a lot better than this. So I think just for the hunt mechanic, there are certainly better 2-drops, unless you're playing this in like a really off hunt color combination. Then you might consider running this, but I think usually you're gonna have a lot better just turn 1 plays than this one.
Oh, I'm gonna give this a 5. Just it's like an average card. You can even if it had no effect, it's just a 2-drop in turn 1 play.
Yeah, just for being a hunt on turn 1, I am gonna give it a 5 as well. Okay, and then we have the Mage Seeker Investigator, 4 energy and 4 might, for a unit that says opponents must pay 1 power for each unit beyond the first to move multiple units to my battlefield at the same time. This is a very it's a tax ability that is also restrictive. So it's very easy to play around if you're, depending on what your battlefield looks like. Like if your opponent has the ability to attack 1 unit at a time to kind of chip away at your unit, then this is useless. So it's only for like big swings that kind of where they come in like en masse. So in that case it could be useful, but I think this kind of, it's not as niche as the Warden from set 1, the green one. But I do think still this is so easily played around, so unless you're playing around like heavy token decks, usually your opponent is not going to attack with more than 1 or 2 units at the same time. So I don't really see this card seeing, I mean I could see this seeing play, it is a 4/4, but I don't really see the ability getting much use.
Yeah, I mean I don't really have much to add there. It's a 4/4, which is nice, and its ability is nice if you can make it work or make it happen, but most of the time they can just go in 1 at a time and trade off units that way. So yeah, it's just okay. I'll probably give this a 5 as well.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna give this a 4. All right, but then we have the Safety Inspector, which is a Yordle. It is 5 energy and has 1 power, and it has 3 might. And you may spend 3 XP as an additional cost to play me. And when you play me, each player must kill 1 of the units. If you paid my additional cost, you don't kill the unit this way.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool card. It's like a cult with a body. More expensive, but being able to play something and just have your opponent kill a unit is nice. Lets you hit things backline without actually targeting them. You do need to have the XP though to make it so it's a one-way call. Though that being said, I don't know. I feel like this is best when you're playing in a hook deck where you're able to hit it off hook and just get it for free, right? That's pretty cool. But other than that, I'd say it's only just all right. You're probably only going to want to play it in the hook decks, but it'll be pretty good in the hook decks.
Yeah. I mean, as far as like spending XP in yellow, this is a very good payoff for that. Just like making your opponent sacrifice something. So depending on your opponent's board state, this could just be game winning for you. It is very expensive, so you kind of get like you kind of pay the extra energy for the extra might. Like if you need the 4th or 5th like color weak effect in like a non-hook deck, then I could see this coming in. But if you're just playing like a control yellow deck, I think playing 5 energy for a sacrifice that your opponent can control. So if they have 1 token and 1 like a massive unit, then they can just choose the token. So it kind of has the same problem with Color Weak, where like Color Weak is really amazing in the early game, and in the late game it kind of starts getting worse and worse. And this is a lot more expensive than that and kind of has the same problem. So yeah, I think it's amazing in certain scenarios, and it's gonna really backfire on others. So yeah, I think it is just okay. But of course, as you said, in Hook it gets a lot better because then you can get it off basically anything.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably give this like a 6.
Yeah, I could give this a 6 as well. Alright, and then we have Shadow's Call. 2 energy for a spell that says choose a friendly unit without temporary, give a temporary, and draw 2. Yeah, I mean, oh, so go ahead, yeah, go ahead.
No, I love this card. I think it's pretty good. Yeah. Just essentially it's 2 energy, draw 2, and then you just use it on something that's gonna die anyway, or something that already has temporary and.
Well, you can't do
Doesn't
that. It has without temporary.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Something that's going to die anyway, or that you want to die with Death Rattle.
Yeah.
Or Death Knell.
Yeah. I think this card is really good as well. Just drawing 2 for 2 energy is really nice, and as I said, you can just put it on like your throwing scout, for example, and then just, you're gonna get a free rune when that eventually dies. So yeah, I think this card is really good. So yeah, I'm probably gonna give this a like solid 7 for this one. I think.
I'm probably actually gonna give it an 8.
All right, fair enough. And then we have the Stalking Wolf, 4 energy for a 4 energy and a power for a 6 might unit. It is also a dog. It has ambush, and as an additional cost to play me, kill a bird, cat, dog, or poro you control. You may play me to its battlefield. This is a pretty cool card, I think. I think this is one of the better payoffs for having the 1 might bird tokens, because you kind of pay 4 energy and a power to trade up 5 might, which is pretty good as an ambush as well. And like ambush is really nice because you can react to your opponent's removal spells. For example, if they want to just like gust your poro or whatever, you can just use this and slam your guy down, and then you still maintain control of that battlefield, and then they might not be able to attack into you. So I think ambush as the general ability is pretty strong. Of course, you do have to kill something, so the bigger unit you kill, the worse this gets. But I think like if you can kind of play this around the bird tokens, then I think this is actually pretty solid.
Yeah, I like this card. It's I think it reads better than it actually is in practice, but it's still pretty decent. I feel because you do need to sacrifice something. It is a bit restrictive. You'll find this card sitting in your hand a bit if you don't have one of the types you need to kill. Also, sometimes it's like you want to keep it there. You actually don't want to kill it. But if you're including this in your deck, you probably have a deck that is specifically tuned to utilize this card. That being said, I'm not sure if there's better lines to play, but I think for this is a pretty decent card. But I don't know how great it is like in the overall meta game right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna probably give this. I'm gonna give it a 6.
Yeah, I would probably give it a 6 as well.
Yep. Alright, then we have Starhound, 5 energy and 1 power for a 6 might unit that says when you play me, return a bird, cat, dog, or poro from your trash to your hand. So the Stalking Wolf kills the unit, and then the Hound just brings them back again. Yeah, I mean, this is one of those units that it really depends on like how valuable your little guys are. You wouldn't really play a card that is this expensive if you're just gonna get back like a Lonely Poro, for example. So if you have some really, really solid, juicy targets in your trash, then this might be worth it. But I think, as far as I know, there's not really that many that are like so good that you want to include this in your deck. I think it's a bit expensive for the applications that it currently has.
Yeah, I totally agree there. I think that in a vacuum, I think this card is actually very good, where it's like, yeah, you're getting a big body and then getting another card to pay for itself. But right now, the cards that you can get back with it are not particularly great. So I think that in the future, when there are more birds, cats, dogs, and poros in the meta, and ones that are more impactful to take and play again and get again, this card will be a lot better. But currently, it's only okay because of the limited amount of targets.
I agree. So I think for now, I'm just gonna give this a 5 now. But then that can certainly move up in the future.
I'm probably going to give it a 6 right now, with the moving up in the future.
Yeah. All right, and then we have the Undying Loyalty, which is a spell for 2 energy and a power that says this costs 2 less if you choose a bird, cat, dog, or poro, and you can play a unit with cost no more than 2 and no more than 1 power from your trash, ignoring its cost.
I don't know how to make this. It's like, essentially it's just letting you revive something from your trash, but you're paying a power to do it, unless you're taking back something that also costs a power, which there aren't too many 2 might cards in those tags that cost a power. There's like the 1 poro that I can think of, but that's purple. So yeah, I don't really think you'd be playing this card. That being, again, like right now there's no good units for it. Maybe in the future there's a good unit for it, but I would never want to pay a power for any of the like 2 might cards.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those cards, like, again, like if there ever becomes like a really like low to the ground like zoo deck, this could be pretty good because you can pay a power, so no energy, to just summon something back. So I'm thinking like if you have like a confront round where you played confront or everything you play out comes in ready, then this all of a sudden becomes a lot better, because then you can just keep like slamming units into your opponent's face. So I could see that like being a thing, but again, like for now, as you said, we don't really have that many good targets they want to pay power cost for, and that even cost power, I think. So yeah, for now I think it's okay, but I do again think this could be a lot better in the future. But for now I think it's just okay. So I think I'm just gonna give this, I think I'm just gonna rate this the same as the last guy. So yeah, probably 6.
Yeah, I'll probably give this like a 4 right now.
Fair enough. And then we have Ash Focused, our first champion unit here. 5 energy and a power for a 4 might unit that says, when you play me, choose an opponent, they reveal their hand. Choose a card revealed this way and banish it. When they hold, return it to their hand, even if I'm no longer on the board. I think this card is pretty solid. It is a hand rip card that, I mean, your opponent has the option of getting it back, or not the option, but they have a way to get it back, but they have to hold. And depending on the deck you're playing against, that might be really hard for your opponent to do. And what's nice about it is that it stays banished even if Ash dies. So I think this card is going to be really good in like control decks, like a control Lux, for example, where you can kind of play this, take your opponent's important card, and then just keep controlling the board so they never get to hold. And this just becomes like a permanent hand rip. And I think that is, in the decks you want to play this in, I think that is probably what you're going for. Kind of just taking something important and then just controlling the board until they just run out of resources. So I think this card is pretty solid.
Yeah, I like this card a lot. Oh, I don't really have much to add. Besides, I think you hit all the points.
Yeah, fair. I'm gonna give this an 8.
Yeah, I'm also gonna give this an 8.
Yeah. All right, and then we have Atakan, attacking, 10 energy and 3 power for a 7 might unit. So a terrible stat line there, but you may kill a friendly unit as an additional cost to play me. If you do, I cost 1 less for each energy it costs and 1 power less for each power it costs. And then as ganking, and when I attack, the defender must kill one of their units here.
I feel like this has a lot of good things on the card, or at least look good, but in practice it's just not very good. Having to sacrifice something just to reduce the cost, not even necessarily reduce it to 0. It's like you still have to pay stuff. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, it's like it's slow, right? It's only 7. So you're presumably like playing something big, sacrificing that something big to play this, waiting a turn, letting it untap, and then going in to get its effects. And the fact that your opponent gets to choose what they kill means that if they're trying to stack a battlefield, they just kill off their little guys, and then it's kind of pointless. So I feel like it's a lot of work to get this thing out for not that much payoff. You probably just want to play something else.
I think when this card got revealed, people were like, oh my god, that's the best ability ever. And it kind of is. It's an amazing ability. And I think like where I theoretically love this card is in LeBlanc, where you can play this guy out for cheap and then use the LeBlanc signature spell to make a ready token, attack with that token, kill something, conquer, and then use the LeBlanc ability to make another token and gank over to the other battlefield to use the ability again. And the problem with this one, like with the Oni, like with the Orange Sivir, all these like powerful on-attack abilities, is that they come unexhausted. And especially in yellow-blue, like if you want to play it in LeBlanc, you don't really have a way of making this enter ready unless you play it like make a reflection then and there. So I think that is like the main thing working against it at all. Of course, it is very expensive, but I think like if you can make reflection tokens and then sacrifice those to use this, then I think it becomes a lot better, because then you don't have to sacrifice something that is permanent. But the problem is, of course, you play this out and then your opponent moves their guys out of the way, and then it's just sitting there like a very expensive, slightly big unit that doesn't really do anything. Mm-hmm. So yeah, if you can get this to enter ready reliably, then I think it's amazing. If you can't, then it's very, very slow. I think it's a 7 for all it's worth. It has the potential to be so powerful when you play it. It kind of doesn't feel like it to play, actually.
I'll probably give this like a 6.
Yep. And then we have Galio, Indefatigable. Well, yeah. 3 energy and a 6 power for a... No, 3 energy, 6 power, Jesus. 3 energy and 1 power for a 6 might unit that has deflect, tank, and I don't deal combat damage.
I feel like this card, it's annoying when it comes down, but I feel like a lot of the decks now just have like natural ways to get over it. And if you ever get over it and you're on a battlefield, he's just sitting in the base doing nothing because he can't attack into things. So yeah, and the fact that they spend a power to do it, it's like if your opponent plays this and then the next turn you just kind of play one card and get over it, then I feel like they just kind of lose the game on the spot. It's like they went down on a power and you just walked over it, and now you're just really far ahead. And if they ever pull it off the battlefield, it's probably not pushing back onto the battlefield. So I don't really like this card that much.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting card, and I'm sure like if they're, it's really nice, of course, if there are like decks that care about getting a lot of might early. So for example, like Baited Hook, you can hook this off to basically find anything in your deck.
That's true. Yeah,
so you can
this is good with Hook.
Yeah, you can play this on turn 1, Hook on turn 2, and then find Harness Dragon turn 3, for example, or turn 2, I guess, essentially. So in those kind of scenarios, it's really good. Also, like if you play this on turn 1, if you go on second and then attack in LeBlanc, then you kind of have 12 might on the battlefield for 3 energy, which is quite insane. So it's an extremely good card at holding. But as you said, if it ever gets removed from the battlefield, it's really hard to get it back because it can't deal damage. So you have to attack into an empty battlefield. So yeah, I think this certainly has uses, but I don't really think you're gonna play it in this meta at least. So yeah, I think I'm gonna just give this. I'm gonna give this a 5.
Yeah, I'll give it a 5 as well.
Okay, and then we have LeBlanc Fragmented, so 3 energy and a power for a 3 might unit that has Assault and Death Knell, draw 1, but if it's your beginning phase, draw 2 instead. So yeah, I mean, this is the LeBlanc champion. This is the one that you're probably going to be running if you're running LeBlanc to be the most meta efficient as possible. It synergizes with the whole making reflection tokens, because you attack with this, conquer, and then you make a reflection token, and that dies at the beginning of your turn, and then you draw 2. And if you have Karthus, it's gonna draw 4, I mean. So this snowballs really heavily. And also you can play cards like Glass Mixologist in your deck that when it dies it just brings this back. So you don't necessarily have to play more than one copy of this. You can just have the one in the champion zone and then just have ways of getting her back after that. So yeah, I think this card is really, really solid in champion zone and just a really good card in yellow in general.
Yeah, this one is surprisingly good. I mean, I used to, thought she was okay, but with the power costs, I was like, it kind of, that always hurts, right? But then the assault is actually super relevant. So when she's attacking for 4, on your, when you went and tap with her, is actually lets her get onto the battlefield to let you start doing your shenanigans with like copying and everything. So I do like this card. I like it a lot. So I'm probably gonna give it an 8.
Yeah, strong 8, almost 9 for me, but yeah, strong 8 is good. Okay, and then we have the alt art here, looking pretty as always. And then we have Sacrifice, a 1 energy spell that has reaction, and at an additional cost to play this, kill a friendly mighty unit, and then draw 2 and channel 1 rune Exhausted.
I also really love this card. I like the new yellow draw spells. Lets you, because it's only 1 energy and it's reaction, you can kind of always play this as long as you have 1 energy up. The fact that you do have to kill a mighty unit is where the restriction comes in, but I think if you are including this in your deck, you have plenty of ways to make your units mighty, and being able to just replace the unit and this card with another 2 cards and getting the bonus rune is also pretty nice. And I think it's really nice when you are using this in response to your opponent's removal spell, so you kind of are going 1 for 1 there, then you're drawing 2 and channeling. So I think this is a pretty good card.
Yeah, me too. I think it's going to be really good against like control decks, for example, or decks that have a lot of spot removal or just removal spells, like ways of removing units outside of combat. If you're going against a deck that only relies on combat removal, and this is not going to do much for you because you're not going to be dealing any damage back, so you're just going to give them a free kill essentially. But yeah, against like removal decks, this is amazing because you can always hold up 1 energy usually, and then just getting draw 2 and the rune back. So if you pay the power cost to play the unit out, then on the next turn you're just gonna get that one back. So yeah, I think this card is amazing in those matchups. But against the matchups that don't really have that kind of removal, then this doesn't really do anything. So it's really good in some cases, and some cases it's not that good. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna give this a solid 7.
Yeah, I'd give this a 7 or an 8, around that area.
Yep. And then we have the Shard of Undoing, 6 energy for a gear that says the first time a friendly unit dies during your beginning phase each turn, each opponent must kill one of their units. I mean, this card is meant to be played in LeBlanc, and I'm experimenting with this now myself in LeBlanc. It's one of those cards, like, it's amazing if you get it turn 3. like on curve, and after that it's just way too slow. Because like the ideal thing, you can like play this on turn 1, and then turn 2 you can play like a Carthus, for example. No, I'm sorry, you play Unit on turn 1, and then turn 2 you play Carthus, for example, and then turn 3 you play this. And that is kind of where the nice synergies come in. But I think after that you're just gonna be so far behind. If you spend your whole turn to play this on turn 4 or 5, for example, then you're just gonna be way too far behind. But I think what's nice about this one in the Blanc is that if you draw this late game, then you can just discard this to the Blanc ability. So you're not really that hurt for playing more than one of this in the deck, even though it is kind of a hard brick when you draw it late. You could always just ditch it to the Legend ability. So I think it still has some uses, so that kind of makes it a lot more comfortable to run these kinds of cards in that deck specifically, because you have such an easy way of just getting rid of them or just using them for something else. So it's a very powerful ability if you can get it on early, but if you draw this late, then it's just way too late for you.
Yeah, I feel like this card is just way too expensive for what it is. I think that, I mean, it's a strong effect if you can get it off, but you like the fact that you need to have some, you essentially need to hold, right? You need, and with that, you like having abilities that trigger on hold, it's not a guarantee. So the fact that you need to hold, and this is 6 energy to do it, so you're spending your entire like third turn to play this, essentially do nothing, right? Because you probably won't play this and also have another like temporary unit right at the same turn. I feel like there's just too many things to go right for this card to be good. So I'm pretty low on this card.
Yeah, I will say you don't have to hold, because the temporary triggers anyways. And with LeBlanc, the temporary units enter ready, so you can just move them back into the base.
Oh, okay. It doesn't have to be at a battlefield. Okay. Yeah. Still, I don't think it changes my opinion very much.
Well, fine then. Yeah. I just from my dream was just having this on turn 3. I haven't gotten it yet, but I will one day. Then I'm gonna give this a 6, but it's probably gonna be a bit lower than that. So it's probably gonna be like a 4, but I'll give it a 5.
Yeah, I'm thinking a 3 or a 4.
Okay, yeah, fair. Okay, I'll give it a 5 then. Can't be too generous, but yeah, it's an interesting card. And then we have Tactical Retreat, 2 energy for a reaction spell that says choose a friendly unit. The next time it would die this turn, heal it, exhaust it, and recall it instead.
See, I like this card. This card's pretty good. It's essentially just sets ability that doesn't cost a power. So you're paying a card, and it's great if you're saving a card that's worth more than 2. As long as you're saving a card that's worth more than 2 energy, then you're going plus, so not much to say there. I think this is like an 8 or a 9 for me.
Yeah, I think this card is amazing. Like the same as like orange has kind of lack protection. Yellow has also lack protection. They have even less than orange somehow. I think this is just the perfect way to protect that. Like you don't protect against bounce, which is fair enough because a lot of decks don't do that. But just having this ability as a way to blank your opponent's attacks, it also works like kind of like a counter strike because you still get to deal the damage and then your guy survives in like a trade-off or just combat in general. I think this card is amazing for yellow as a way to just protect your guys, and I really like this. So this is definitely a 9 for me. Okay, and then we have Vibe Peacekeeper, 5 energy and a power for a 5 might unit that has ambush, and when I attack, stun an enemy unit here. This is a pretty powerful card. It is ambush, it is 5 for 5, and when it comes in, it stuns the enemy unit. So I think I really like this. What's kind of nice about this ability is you can kind of attack with the things you have on the board already, and they kind of check your opponent like, okay, do you have something? Because if you do, then I also have this. And if your opponent responds with like pump spells, then this just kind of shuts that off because it stuns the unit. So I think this kind of ability on an ambush unit is pretty powerful. But the negative thing, of course, is that you can't really play it on defense. Or I mean, you can, but it's a lot worse on defense. So I really like it as an aggressive card.
Yeah, I like it too. I want to play around with this more, just because I think for the same reasons you said, being able to surprise stun something and also get a pretty sizable body is pretty nice. But only particularly useful on attack. And the opportunity cost of playing some other cards, in that same slot is really where I think what makes or breaks the card. But overall, I like the card. I'll probably give it a 6.
Yeah, I'll give it a 6 as well.
I could see a 7 too.
Yeah, fair enough. This Ultra though looks badass as hell. This looks sick.
I like that Ultra.
Yeah, I'm my own backup. Well, sure are. Okay, and then we have the Ivern Friend to All. 6 energy and 6 might. For a unit that says, as you play me, choose bird, cat, dog, or poro. I gain that tag. And when I conquer or hold, score 1 point if your units have all of the following tags among them: bird, cat, dog, and poro.
This is a fun card. I think it's actually surprisingly decent too. Being a 6 for 6 with no power is pretty good. You know, just I like not having to have a big unit that doesn't cost power. And then I think the added benefit of being able to score by conquer or hold and getting extra points is like an X factor that you can kind of think about if you're playing the Ivern deck. I can't imagine that you'd be playing birds, cats, dogs, and poros in any other color if you weren't playing specifically the Ivern deck. But you know, I think that it's definitely decent, and the other Ivern is also okay. But I think the X factor is nice to have. It's a fun card. I'm gonna give it a 7.
Yeah, it's a really fun card. It's a beautiful card as well, and I think this, like, imagine this with like the texture foiling would look amazing. But yeah, I mean the card is like it doesn't have a power cost. It's 6 for 6, so it's really well statted. It's synergized with the whole Ivern deck, of course, and it also can score you an extra point. I haven't played around with Ornn, so I'm not sure how easy or difficult that ability is to get off, because it is 4 tags and this counts for one of them, so you do have to have
pretty difficult from what I've seen.
Yeah, that's what I'm gathering here. So in that case, like, it is, you're spending, if you're on 12 runes, you're spending half your turn to play this, which might just be a beat stick, and then if you have the tags and you like the thing is, like, this has to conquer or hold, so if this gets pushed back and you hold, then you're not going to get any extra points. For now, I just see this like the tagging is nice, getting the tags, so you kind of synergize with everything that cares about that. But the fact that this has to conquer or hold himself, I think is just really expensive for the slim chance of getting an extra point. Like, I think it's okay. I'm not really sure it's amazing though. So for me, I think I'm just going to give this a 6.
That's fair.
And I mean, yeah, Altar looks cool, but come on, this should have been the foil treatment. All right, and then we have Poppy, Defender of the Meek. 6 energy and a power for a 5-mat unit that says you may spend 3 XP as an additional cost to play me. If you do, I cost 3 less. It has ambush and it has tank. Yeah, I mean, this at a base cost is not that good. It's a 6 energy, 1 power, 5-mat ambush, which is that is a lot of ambush. If you spend the XP, then it's pretty good. It's 3 energy and a power for 5 might, which has tank. So in that case, it becomes a lot better. I'm not sure you want to play this in the champion zone necessarily, and I'm also not sure how many of this you want to keep in your deck. Like, you really have to get that XP reliably to make this guy worth it, because if you're paying the full cost, then she feels kind of underwhelming. But of course, like, ambush by nature kind of has that ability of just being able to check your opponent, and having tank is nice because you get to protect your more fragile, maybe more important units. So it certainly has some applications, but you really have to get the XP reliably to be able to actually reliably play this. So yeah, I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's the card's like in a weird spot, because yeah, you never want to cast it for its full cost, but when you are spending the 3 XP, it's great. It's a 3 and a power for 5 that is already good, and then you're being able to play at reaction speed with tank is pretty nutty. I feel like you probably would want to play this if you were going for like a more mid-rangey version of Poppy. Play this in the champion zone, just because I don't know if maybe you'd want to play, like, have these in your hands, but I don't know. The other Poppy's good though because it doesn't cost power, and I feel like if you're gonna play like Aurora Poppy or something, that's where you probably want to play the one that doesn't cost power, just because it won't deramp you.
Aurora Poppy.
But yeah, I like this card. Yeah. But I think that I'd probably give this card like a 7. The fact that you essentially aren't gonna play this card without the 3 XP, so you're kind of like gated in that sense. But when you do have it, it's really good.
Yeah, I can give it a 7. Like, if you get the XP, then it's a 7. Yeah, agreed. And then the altar looks pretty sick.
Little maid.
Cool. Yeah, a little maid with like the coffee beans.
Oh yeah, it looks like coffee beans here. Like,
yeah, maybe she's brewing the hell out
baker
of
or something.
Baker, yeah, maybe. All right, and then we have the Rift Herald, 8 energy and a power for a 7-might unit that says, when I move to a battlefield, look at the top 3 cards of your main deck. You may reveal a unit from among them and draw it. Recycle the rest. And then Death Knell, play a unit from your hand to your base, ignoring its energy cost.
Yeah, I mean, I like the effect on this card, and the art's pretty cool. It's definitely a strong effect, but it has the late game curse of like, for when you're playing that, for as expensive as it is and as late in the game as it is, it's like you really want it to be immediately impactful, and this card is probably not by definition, like you need to at least move it or have it die before you get to use its ability. So I think it's like better in like maybe LeBlanc where you're copying it and it's like getting it for free or doing things like that. But you know, because it's not like immediately impacting the board for such an expensive cost, I'm gonna definitely dock it some points. This is probably like a 6 or a 7.
Yeah, it is, as you say, it is very expensive, and I mean the ability is amazing, of course, but it's really slow, and you're spending your entire turn to play something out slow, and the next turn you can attack with it, and then I guess hopefully it dies. So outside of LeBlanc, I don't really see the card being played, at least not now. But of course, you do have some like synergies. If you have like some, like what is nice, you could play this out and then spend the 1 energy kill spell to kill this, and then play out the Elder Dragon, for example. So it certainly has some like applications there, and it kind of sets itself up because you attack. But if you do that immediately, then you have to have the Elder Dragon on hand. So like, it is an interesting card to experiment with, but it is one of those cards like if your hand is stuck with like Poros and Watchful Sentries, then the ability is useless. But if you have a handful of like gas, that is amazing. But then if you don't have this card, then your hand is ass because it's way too expensive. So it kind of sits in a weird spot. In an ideal world, this card is incredible, but it can also brick quite hard sometimes. So, but it's gonna be an interesting card to play around with. I haven't tried this one yet, but yeah, I think it's probably I can give it a 6 as well. All right, and then the alt art looks pretty cool.
Some cool colors.
Some cool colors, yeah, absolutely. I don't know, is this Pike in the foreground here?
Looks like it. Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. All right, and then for the final card we have the Ruination. So 9 energy and 3 power for a spell that says kill all units. I mean, Control Lux dies for this card. This card is an incredible board wipe. Like we had board wipes before we had the unchecked power, but of course the problem with unchecked power is it only kills stuff at battlefields, and when people are not holding or attacking with everything, then that's useless. This card doesn't care about that. So if you can play this in a Lux where you have like, for example, Vanguard Armories, where you can kind of play this, kill everything, develop a bunch of tokens, and then just kind of take control. I think this and a control deck is, I mean, it's exactly what you want. It doesn't matter what your opponent has on the board, unless they have some ways of protecting cards, which they might have, but I think just as a way to just reset the whole game while not necessarily resetting yourself, I think this card is amazing.
Yeah, I feel like this is strictly your like yellow control deck card, right? It's very expensive, so it comes down late in the game, but by that point you usually have 1 or 2 of the Vanguard Armories, so you just wipe the board, make 3 to 6 units, and then you're just kind of chilling from there. So yeah, I do like this card for specifically those decks. I don't think you're going to find this card in any other deck but those hard control token style like control decks.
Yeah, I will say you can play like if you have to play this and you have a board full of Glass Mysologist and Rift Heralds, and they just play this and then your whole hand just explodes onto the board. Well, I guess that's an experiment for the future, but that is going to be the end of the episode, I guess, for this time. We looked at
we gotta give it ratings for this one.
Oh, no. Oh my god, the transition was so smooth. Oh my god, okay, never mind.
I know, I'm sorry. So I'm gonna rate this card probably a 7.
A 7? Okay, well, yeah, I'm gonna give it an 8 then, because it is like the way to just wipe the board. Okay, well, I guess that is the end of the episode then. Thank you so much for watching. If you're still watching this, the yap goes on, and it will for one more episode for the Unleashed set, so stay tuned for that. But for now, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope to see you in the next one. But until then, take care and bye-bye.